Hello and welcome to the Jungle, a Cincinnati Bengals podcast. My name is Owen Timmerding, joined again by Caroline Palmer. Welcome to the Jungle, presented by Blue Wire. I'm sorry about that, forgot that in. And Caroline, Joe Burrow, our franchise quarterback, spoke to the media on Monday. His first time of the offseason. He was very vocal all during the season about what needed to be done. You can tell he's happy about some of the changes that have been made. And from all intents and purposes, he is ready to go.
Yeah, the one thing that really stood out to me was the quote where he said that it's the best he's felt in an off season, and we're not even at like mini camp yet. Like
Yeah.
we are knocking on the door of that. Like all we've had is like OTAs and just some team workouts. And Burrow, for celebrity reasons, hasn't even been able to make all of those. Like we talked about in a previous episode that he was at the Met Gala and like other things like that. But despite all of that, and despite some of the still like negotiations that are going on, especially on the other side of the ball, he seems really happy. And if he's happy, most Bengals fans are happy.
I'd have to agree. It's pretty nice hearing from him that he feels great. Like obviously that first year it was the weird COVID year, not really a true training camp. Then he got hurt, tears the ACL, comes back, has half of a basically training camp, sort of healthy going into the next one, but then gets hurt in training camp dealing with the calf injury, gets hurt again in that season, deals with the wrist injury this last offseason, and now finally, and I think Joe Burrow is ecstatic that he finally, the fingers crossed, can have some sort of healthy offseason. And he looks great. And some of the stuff I've been saying, he says he's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger, and that's what he strives to do every single offseason. But he's put a lot of emphasis on it this time.
Yeah, I was gonna say everybody knock on wood right now that he doesn't get injured throughout the rest of the off season. But another thing that we talked about off camera, which I think we can kind of translate into other topics, is him talking about Hendrickson. They
Yeah.
mentioned it directly in his press conference, and he said that he deserved to get paid, which I think that is like a well-known fact at this point that he deserves to get paid. He has the accolades to be paid. But the other thing that we talked about that like kind of contradicts that in a way where it kind of like offsets it is the fact where Joe Burrow said that they have their core locked down.
Mm.
And I think some people are interpreting that as, okay, well, maybe Hendrickson isn't part of this core like a lot of us or a lot of the media believe that he is.
I think that's correct. I mean, Burrow was so vocal in the season of getting Chase and Higgins locked up, and he kept supporting Trey Mixon because he's a teammate, but you can see he feels differently about some of this core. Maybe it's selfish because he's the quarterback and it's the
Mhm.
offense that he's getting bolstered up, but I kind of feel like Burrow's kind of like us, where he's just kind of tired of talking about all this contract stuff. And whether that's the Bengals' fault or not, and say what you want, we've kind of agreed that it's a mix of both Hendrickson's agent and Cincinnati Bengals modus operandi. But the Burrow said the core, and Hendrickson was not name dropped in that.
Mhm.
So, do I think that's what Burrow meant? Probably not. But we can spin
Mm-mm.
it in this way to get people talking and maybe interpret stuff that we don't even really know what's going on.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, though. The longer this, I mean, like, I swear we have been talking about this since January.
Yeah,
Like,
we have.
it's just one of those things where it's like the longer it drags out, even the media is like not inclined to talk about it anymore.
No.
Like you really have to dig into like Cincinnati area specific resources. I mean, most of the information that's come out in the last 2 weeks has been from the Cincinnati Bengals directly on their website. Like even the media is getting tired of covering at this point unless he gets signed. Like,
Yeah.
and even then, I feel like they've drawn out the fact that it's not this huge spectacle anymore, which sucks because he is a top. I mean, you can only base on the last time he played, and based on the last time everybody played, he was a top two defensive player in the league. And some argued he was number one based on the numbers. So it's like, I feel like it's been drawn out so long now that I think we as like the media and fans, but as well as his own teammates are getting really tired of the situation. And I think it shows in Joe Burrow's press conference. I even saw a video of him showing up at those OTAs and even the way his teammates interacted with him. Like obviously they were happy to see him, but like you could tell that they kind of are just like messing with him. Like, when are you going to sign the contract? Because in the back of their head, they're like, this has been going on for 6 months now. It's time to make a decision.
Yeah, it's frustrating for all parties involved, and I'm sure Burrow doesn't want to deal with it. But he's
Hmm.
the I don't know. I mean, like he said, "You know how I feel about Trey." He's given his piece. Feels like he doesn't need to say anything else. Now it's just kind of X's and O's on the media putting pen to paper side for that part. Another thing that Burrow talked about, which I thought was interesting and something I forgot about, is that he is going to be one of the guys on Quarterback, the Netflix special.
Yeah.
I only watched maybe one episode of it. Actually, I didn't watch the quarterback one. I watched the receiver one because I didn't want to watch the quarterback one because I knew it had Patrick Mahomes beating the Bengals in it in the NFC Championship game, and I didn't want to deal with it. So I was let's just not watch the whole thing at all. But once Burrow announced he was in it, I was like, oh, this is super cool. There had already been some scuttlebutt about that. Burrow denounced the rumors, and then he confirmed it a couple months ago that he was doing it, and he was asked about it
Hmm.
press conference, and he said that they quote caught him on a good day, and that the main reason he did it was because of executive producer Peyton Manning, which I think is interesting.
Yeah. I think this season will be really interesting. I
Mhm.
watched the first one. I thought it was really cool, and I think it
I bet it's
showed.
great. I just didn't want to
To
watch it.
contrast your point about Mahomes, I actually think it showed, like, a very personal side of Mahomes
Hmm.
that a lot of people don't get to see because he's very much like a show guy in terms of, like, he talks the talk, but at the end of the day, he walks the walk as well, so, like, you can't really hold that against him as much as it is annoying. But the season that Joe Burrow's on is Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins, and
Again,
Jared Goff. And I think that that's
that's a
3
good group.
completely different situations that you can look at in terms of, like, you have Kirk Cousins who came in with this giga contract and then just did never really got his feet back under him after that the Achilles tear, and ended up getting dropped for Michael Penix and then just completely cut from the team. You have Joe Burrow, who was far and away the best player on a struggling Bengals team, who, like, the entire internet knew that it was Joe Burrow had to throw for 5,000 yards or else the Bengals had no shot of making the playoffs. And then you look at Jared Goff, who he was not the best player on that Lions team. And that Lions team kind of got dealt a bad draw in terms of their injury account.
Mhm.
Granted, most of their injuries were on the defensive side of the ball, but I don't think anyone's sitting here going, Jared Goff is the best offensive player on the Lions. It's just, you don't hear
No,
that. Like, so
no.
I just think it's a very interesting season because a lot of the times, I think in the first one, it was like very much like kind of the same story twice and then Patrick Mahomes. So I think this one, especially because the Falcons, Bengals, and Lions all had very different seasons in
Totally.
terms of like how it ebbed and flowed, that I'm very interested for that dynamic.
Yeah, Burrow said in when he was talking, he's like, it obviously wasn't the season that I wish they followed because I mean, all first off, what I gathered from this is that Burrow's pretty locked in. He's
Yeah.
all business this year. All business. You've heard him. He's never been one to boast about stats, but he was like, I don't care about all these stats I had last year. He said he's not worried about stats. He just needs to be good enough to win. And that's what he wasn't last year. And he was
Yeah.
probably the best quarterback performance I've seen in my lifetime from a team I care about, which is crazy to
Yeah.
think about that he
I
wasn't
was gonna say
satisfied with that
numbers
performance.
wise, it was a great quarterback performance. Just all like he would be. That would be like if the Bengals made the playoffs and even won a game, you'd be considering that as an all timer season from Joe Burrow.
Oh,
It's
totally.
just it's just they missed the playoffs, so it kind of
Yeah.
gets like I think I forget. It was like I know the passing yards for sure. It was like one of the best statistical seasons ever by a quarterback
Mhm.
in terms of passing yards in the regular season. And even if you take out the week 18 because week 18 got added on, whatever,
Yeah.
like people are like, still statistically, it was one of the best seasons all time from a quarterback. And I feel like just nobody's really talking about it because they didn't make the playoffs. So I
Mm-mm.
get his mentality. He's like, I want to be. Obviously, he's not caring about the stats, but he also, I think, knows at this point the stats only get recognized or like highlighted if you make a push in the playoffs.
Totally. Um, yeah. I also he said I thought it was interesting that he really credited Peyton Manning to that he said this. He said that he knew Peyton would protect Joe Burrow. He'd protect the team and he'd protect the organization. And I just I don't know. We talk about stuff you like hearing your favorite pro athletes to
Mhm.
hear, and especially team and organization on the back half or at the forefront, because Burrow is very clearly a super private person when it comes to
Mhm.
who he lets into his life.
Yeah.
But he was obviously comfortable enough to do this. I think it'll be
Mhm.
really great content. And he says he's watched a couple of the episodes already and that we should be pretty excited. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me because it's in, like, total contrast of the situation that's going on with Hard Knocks right now. Like, nobody wants to do it because they don't trust
Oh,
the
yeah.
producers of that show, and
Because
also it
it's
went
it's
horribly for the
easier.
Giants last year.
Yeah, yeah, they did. Well, I also the Bengals did the in-season Hard Knocks last year, and I thought it was pretty well done. Like they did the AFC North thing, and they're doing that
Yeah,
again with the NFC East. I saw did you see the Bills got normal Hard Knocks this year?
I did see that. That
I
one will be interesting, I think.
I will too. People hate the. I love watching the preseason Hard Knocks. I think it's interesting, but it's such a weird time because of like team
Yeah.
construction and
Mhm.
like you just don't really want that many people around you when you're making these
Mm-mm.
mega decisions. It's kind of a
Mhm.
hassle.
I
Lucky
was
for the
gonna
Bills, it
say
shouldn't be too hard.
yeah, I was gonna say, I just remember watching the preseason Hard Knocks this season that it was John Gruden with the Raiders.
Yeah.
And,
Oh,
conversations that he had to had with multiple people, and I was just like, I would hate to be a cameraman in that situation. Like, it just would make me really uncomfortable.
the Bengals have had it twice. They had it like twice in like 5 years, and I watched them on like recording, and they're interesting. It's fun if it's your
Yeah.
team, and it's
I was
real.
gonna say it's
It's fun
very
if it's your
niche
team.
to fans of that
Yeah.
team.
But I mean, I'll watch Hard Knocks, but
Yeah.
I'll definitely watch quarterback. I watched the receiver one. I watched like half of that
I was gonna say
too.
I haven't watched the receiver one.
I thought it was fine. I think it's cool. What I didn't watch was the NBA version of this. Did you
Oh
watch any of
gosh,
that?
no, no.
No.
I'm
You
not a
don't
huge
strike me as a big
NBA
basketball fan.
I'm
Yeah.
not a huge I mean, I have a Kansas basketball shirt on, so I feel like I'm contradicting myself right now, but I'm not a huge basketball person. That's probably on the bottom of my major sports
That's funny.
tiers. I just can't get my head wrapped around it. Like, I love a
Oh, I
good
get
March
it.
Madness, but, like, that's about
Yeah,
it.
that's funny. But staying on topic of quarterback here, I think it's cool that Burrow's doing it, and it'll be a nice
Yeah,
insight. And we talked about this 2 weeks ago. He's a megastar, and people
yeah,
want to see him, and it'll be a good group of guys. One more thing Burrow talked about. Actually, I think, yeah, two more things I want to talk about for Joe Burrow is, and one will be a feed into our next segment, which will be nice.
yeah.
Is he talked about the schedule? He says it's annoying that they have to play Baltimore on the prime time on the road for the fourth year in a row. So he's just like us. He's tired of it
Yeah,
too. And he says he please wants the one at home next year. And he also was really pushing for an international game because he said one of his goals is to really grow the game. And that's why he did the quarterback show too.
yeah. Again, I think it's really cool. I think he's a really, like, pillar figure in the NFL right now, and if
He's
he
such a
just sits there
likable guy.
Yes, that's the other thing too, is there's a lot of, like I mean, that's their issue with, like, Mahomes and even Lamar Jackson, like, they're not exactly the most marketable people in terms of, like, they're just not really liked by a lot of the NFL fan base, but I feel like Joe Burrow and I'd say Josh Allen too,
Oh yeah.
are just 2 very likable figures, and if, like, Joe Burrow just sits here all year and is like, "Oh, I wanna play in an international game. Oh, I wanna play in an international game," I'd find it really I would find it really, really hard that they didn't get one next year if Joe Burrow just sits and begs for it for the next
Yeah.
3 to 6 months.
The funny part, the reason why Mahomes and Lamar are quote unquote not likable is because they're so dang good.
Yes.
It's
I mean, it's the
it's
same reason everyone hated Brady. It was the same
yeah, the same
thing.
people hate LeBron. It's the
Yeah.
it's if you're too good, and the funny part about Lamar too is that he's not winning championships. He just has 3 MVPs and he's a video game. But I agree
Yeah.
with what you're saying is I see more hate online for them too than probably any hate online for quarterbacks that are actually good compared to
Yes.
anyone else in the NFL.
Yeah, like top tier quarterbacks in the league. It's
Yeah.
those 2 by a long shot.
Yeah, I think that's funny. But yeah, I really like the international game. We talked about that last week. I think Burrow thought they were getting it too,
Yeah.
and he really I think we talked about I'm surprised the Bengals haven't had one
Yeah.
yet with this group of people. It just makes
Yeah.
too much sense. I don't know. We'll see. But
Mhm.
Last thing, he talked about this too. There's two more things, and one will feed in later. But this one, he was asked about some advice for rookie Shemar Stewart. And he said, work hard, develop a routine, and understand your job. I'm kind of paraphrasing what Joe Burrow said. He
Yeah.
gave like a 3-minute answer.
Hmm.
Now, to totally contradict the work hard and do your job part, Shemar Stewart hasn't touched the field. So,
I was just about to
Caroline, what are
say
your thoughts on that?
it is hard to do your job when you don't show up to practice. I will
Yeah.
give you that part.
Well, he's there.
You
He's
touch
just not participating.
He's just not participating.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly really perplexed by this because we talked about it last week and I was like, "Oh, I believe this is an issue that can be easily solved and easily talked through." And I was like, "I'll give it a week." And then I think this thing is solved. And we're sitting here a week later, he still has no intention of wanting to go to
Yeah.
practice. And for me, like I'm honestly confused now. Like just from a standpoint, I'm like almost every other rookie contract has been signed except for yours. Like, I'm a little perplexed at this point. Like, is this not something that you can sign now and negotiate on later? Like, are you gonna risk losing your starting spot to someone because you refuse to work out for the first half of the season in an off season that by all of your star players is being quoted the most crucial and the best everyone has felt? Like, if
Yeah.
I'm hearing that as a player, I am begging to be on the field, even if that means that my agent has to do something behind closed doors that maybe I'm not even there for.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, I don't even understand why he's like, I hope he's, like, itching. Like, I part of me hopes that he's upset that he's not playing because I truly believe that this situation has, again, been dragged out longer than it should.
He just wants consistent money for the last two Bengals picks. And I guess he's not getting that. He's pretty much just said if it's anywhere near that number, if it's like that number, then he'll play. And so I think he's confused that like he uh if they were willing to give these guys this kind of contract, why wouldn't they give him that same deal?
Yeah.
I saw a funny thing on Twitter and it was about this. It was a quote tweet about Shamar Stewart sitting out, and it was a tweet that said maybe they went back and looked at the tape because it was the big joke in the NFL that the Bengals made the wrong pick at
Yeah.
17. So I think that's funny. I mean, and I've kind of talked myself into him being good, but I mean, he has to play. This is going to get signed. It's just a matter if he misses. But you're right. But you said that he's risking losing a potential shoe-in starting job if he kind of keeps pushing this and kicking this can down the road.
Yeah. You don't get drafted in the first round to be a backup usually unless teams strategically pick quarterbacks. Like you saw, like
Mhm.
example the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes. They're arguing that the Giants might do something like that with Jackson Dart and have him sit
Yeah.
behind Russell Wilson for the first half of the season and then he go in and be the Giants' future guy. A defensive end doesn't get drafted in the first round of the draft
No,
to sit.
no, you don't.
And
Especially where the
for
Bengals are now.
me, and I think I talked about this last week, but like I don't care how good you were in college. When you get to the big leagues or you join any new team, you're at the bottom of the totem pole. You have
Mhm.
the most to prove. And every day that he spends on the sideline, he is creating a much larger gap between himself and the same players at his position. Like that's all I have to say on it. Like I
Yeah.
believe that he's shooting himself in the foot the longer he chooses to sit out at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we talked about this a lot last week. It's just kind of the same thing, not a whole lot of information coming out of that. So we'll feed right
Yeah, there's
into our last part. Is it a couple new NFL rulings? There are some votes going on this week. But most importantly, I think we should start with longtime Colts owner Jim Irsay unexpectedly passed away last night. Obviously, Bengals don't play the Colts that much. There's not really that much of a
mhm.
rivalry, but he's one of those. I will say he's one of the few owners I actually like know about.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good or
Mhm.
a bad thing, but I know who he is. Mainstay in the Colts, and from everything I've read, that organization and community is devastated.
Absolutely. Like you said, he's one of the owners outside of the teams that I follow that I know. And we were talking about people who are quote unquote unlikable in the league. Jim Irsay was not one of those guys. He was somebody who was universally loved throughout
Mhm.
the NFL. People had a lot of respect for him. And obviously,
Character. He was a character,
yes, so
but
many prayers for
yeah,
the Indianapolis community because I know
yes.
that they are all feeling it right now.
Totally. So we'll kind of shift into some owner talk too. There are some decisions that were voted on, one of which was the tush
Mhm.
push, which correlates to your favorite team.
Yes, I was. I remember seeing the notification on my phone because I was nervous that it was going to get banned, and
I think the
I'm
Bengals
sh
voted to ban it. I saw the list of
yes,
teams that
they
did
did.
not. Yeah,
Yeah, they
go
did.
ahead though. Continue.
I have 2 really interesting facts about
Go
the
for it.
tush push ban. The first one is there every single team that is slotted to play the Eagles this season voted to ban it except for 1,
Should I guess who?
Detroit.
Oh, never mind. Detroit.
Dan Campbell, man is not scared. So I
Yeah,
was not surprised to see that, but that was an interesting fact.
I
The
didn't
other
know
one
that.
is I was surprised that the Bills voted to ban it because Sean McDermott came out and basically
Yeah.
said that they're like, it's hard to hate on a play. It's not the reason Sean McDermott voted no was not because of like the execution of the play. It was just they need to make sure it's safe for the players. Like that was his logic in voting no. But I'm like, my thing is, and I try to take my Eagles bias out of this, obviously, but you saw teams like Minnesota ran it. Buffalo themselves even try to run it, which is what Sean
Mhm.
McDermott said. He's like, we can't blame Philly for being successful at that play when other teams ran it and weren't as successful. And you even had this year where they lost Jason Kelsey, who everyone was like, oh, Jason Kelsey was the huge factor of why that tush push was successful. Jurgens comes in, it's just as good. Like, at
Mhm.
the end of the day, it's like I would have been frustrated to see it go as a fan because there's a lot of times where like teams were really good at one specific play and they were just much better at it than everyone else. It's just I guess it's an interesting thing. Like if they prove that somehow it's harmful for the players, like, but I don't even think people have gotten injured on tush push plays off
No.
the top of my head. So like that was where I got confused because I'm like, are teams just jealous that they haven't figured it out? Like there's enough tape where you could try to figure it out. It's just other than Philadelphia, no one really seems to have that thing in the bag. So I'm like, it's not like Philadelphia is doing something illegal. They've just been able to master something that no one else has been able to do.
Well, it's also not like they're doing anything crazy. They're just doing a
No.
a a a QB or a QB sneak that everyone just shoves the guy. I don't know, and
Yeah.
you're really not, like, technically allowed to push the player across the goal line or whatever, but if you're in the movement of people going forward, like, in this I don't even know how to describe it, this valley of people, I'd say, that's moving forward,
Mhm.
it works. I don't know. I don't really care about the tush push. I mean, it's whatever. Like, if you wanna
Yeah.
do it, go ahead. If you wanna stop it, stop it. If you can't stop
Yeah.
it, don't let the Eagles get into 4th and 3, 4th
Well,
and
that's what
2.
I'm saying, is, like, if you know that's what they're gonna do, don't let them get there. Like,
Yeah.
that's my other thing, is, like, that's, like, strategy 101. Like, they're on the goal line, I'm forcing them to throw a pass.
Yeah.
Like or you just let them run for the first down and then knock them out of bounds. Like, if you
Totally.
don't wanna deal with the tush push. Like, there's
Yeah.
ways around it, but
Whatever. I don't know. The other
whatever.
thing the owners talked about is the Olympics, and
Mhm.
the Olympics are in Los Angeles in 2028. There's going to be flag football in it. The owners are going to allow NFL players to participate. Now, here's another wrinkle. I didn't know this, and I don't even know if this is right, but I think Joe Burrow might have talked about it. Is that there's only one NFL player allowed per country? Have you heard this at all? I don't know this. I could be totally making this up, so I'm going to look it up right now
I
while we're
haven't
talking.
seen that somewhere. I
Same.
have just been seeing all of the, social media buzz about this. I saw someone edit NFL players' faces on the dream team. I saw that and that made me laugh. And then there's other
Oh,
ones
that's funny.
where it was like I forget the other one where it was like talking about some like French accountant who plays for the flag football team who has to
Yeah,
like defend Jamar Chase for like 2 hours. Like I just
that's
see
so
those
funny.
and it's like I do think it would be they need to find this sounds bad, and I love America. God bless America. But they need to find some way to nerf the American team. Because if they
Oh,
don't, we are the only country that plays any type of organized like American football. Like if you allow an entire roster of NFL or even XFL players to play against these other countries, it is going to be just America steamrolling anyone. That sport doesn't get views. That will probably get
oh,
primetime viewing figures, which will take it away from other sports that are more
I,
traditional Olympic sports.
I just figured out what I said. It's one player
Okay.
per team. Like
Okay.
one, yeah. That I misheard the guy on the press
Yeah,
conference. It's the Olympic flag football team can roster no more than one player from the same NFL team. For example, Team USA could deploy one player each from the Dallas Cowboys and the Kansas City Chiefs, but not multiple Cowboys and Chiefs. This team could be loaded. Maybe next time we pod, we could do like you said, you saw the dream team thing. We could create a squad.
create
That'd
a
be
mock
crazy.
America flag football team.
What is? I think it's only 10 players. They said 10 players
Yeah,
per team, 5 players on the field. Really, your best bet is to probably just get a bunch of receivers and receivers, corners, and a quarterback because
pretty much.
really, you really just need like guys that are
Maybe a
quick enough
linebacker,
to,
but like that's it.
yeah, you just need guys that are quick enough to grab. These, I mean, are these guys going to be like you said? Is there going to be some French dude that's going to be able to handle this?
Well, that's what
Who
I'm
knows?
saying. Like there needs to be some stipulate like, and I know they have to make it fair, but I'm like, it's like,
I hope they don't. I hope the USA wins every game like 70-0.
well, like I fear that's what it's gonna be. And then like I'm just thinking as this from like an Olympic spectacle point of view, it
Yeah,
becomes less interesting if you
you're
have
right.
one team just winning everything.
Well, there's also probably a good bet that this is just for this American Olympics and then it gets taken
Yeah,
out.
that
I
could
bet that's
be
a
the
high
case as well.
percentage too,
Yeah. Or
because
if it just crashes and burns, they can be like, "Oh, that was America's fault," and then move on.
you're right. Yeah, if it's just like totally boring and
It's just interesting because in comparison to every other sport, like even basketball, a lot of those European teams have organized basketball organizations over there. They like joke about leagues around the country, but there's nothing like the NFL or even the XFL, CFL,
no,
USFL, whatever it decides to be when they get a new media contract. There's nothing like that anywhere else. Canada had one for a while, but
yeah,
Canada's isn't even on the level of the XFL either.
no. The only countries that could probably compete, and by compete, I mean by be within 3 touchdowns, is like Canada, maybe some of the rugby nations,
Yeah, like a New Zealand
and
or an
yeah,
Australia.
and like Germany or something like that. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of German NFL players,
Yeah.
but they're like big
Also,
defensive guys, so it doesn't really matter.
oh, dog. I also feel like I could see like a Jamaica or like
Just
because they're
running at a
fast.
bunch of track
Like
guys,
literally,
yeah,
if you take some of these track guys and just hand them the ball and say
yeah,
run, like
go,
they have good agility too.
yeah,
Like you
yeah,
just
yeah.
ask them to go. Like I'm trying to think like a Jamaica, a Honduras, like a Belize, like something like that. Like those fast track countries.
Mhm.
I think that could cause some problems as well. But we'll see.
That'd be
It'll be
fun.
a whole interesting experience for sure.
This is also like 3 summers from now, which is crazy. It's
Yeah,
like the
it's
last
weird to
Olympics
think
was
about.
just last summer, and we're
Gosh,
already
that feels
talking
like
about this.
forever ago.
I know that was a year ago. It was an awesome
They better
Olympics
bring
too.
Snoop Dogg back though. That was one of the funniest things I think they could have done from a
For
marketing
the
standpoint.
for the oh yeah, when he was just like there.
It was like him and Martha Stewart like
Yeah.
analyzing everything. It was amazing. It came on like at 11 p.m. and me and my
Oh, I
roommates would
remember
watch it
watching
and
that.
just die
Yeah,
laughing. It was an amazing marketing move from the Olympics.
that was pretty sweet. But yeah, Bengals, yeah, like we said, slow news week, but getting right into training camp here in the next month or couple months. So then we'll have
Hmm.
some more stuff to talk about. So as always, thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Welcome to the Jungle. For Caroline Palmer, my name is Owen Timmerding, and we'll get you back here next week with more Bengals news. Who day?